Vendor or a provider cannot provide all the services that are available in cloud. He can provide certain services. Cloud service can be divided or categorized as public cloud, private cloud, hybrid cloud and community cloud. Low maintenance. Maintenance will be very much less when you take software as a service. Hello students, myself Dr. Soumeshri from Department of Computer Science, Vidhyaashram College. Welcome to the next session of Cloud Computing and Big Data Analytics. Till now, the topic that we have covered is the service. How does the cloud computing benefits? What are the services or what are the requirements if you need to start a cloud service? Some of these topics have been completed till now, until the last session, is it not? Today, the topic that I am going to talk about is about the service models. How does the services provided by a cloud service vendor will differ? What are the different types of service a vendor can give you, or a vendor can provide? How many kinds of services? Is there any kind of service? Is there types? Yes, of course, we have a service. As I have said, cloud is a service given by someone else, is it not? Cloud service provider or vendor will provide you a service. What type of service he is providing you? What you need from a vendor or a provider is what the thing that I am going to talk about in this session. Okay. For that, we have given the title of Cloud Service Models. In the last session, it is about the requirements. What are the required characteristics of a service if you want to start a cloud service? Today, we shall move on to the next concept. What are the different services that can be provided by a vendor? Okay. There are certain services. We have specific services. He cannot provide any kind of service. He has to provide certain services and models. There will be certain models, certain services that will be provided by the cloud computing provider or cloud service provider, which makes cloud computing feasible and accessible to end users. Services where you need a quality as well as which type of service you are expecting from a vendor. A vendor or a provider cannot provide all the services that are available in cloud. He can provide certain services. Another vendor gives you some other service. That means the service provided by a vendor will be limited. He cannot provide all the service under the sky available in the entire cloud. What he can do? What are the limitations? What are the different services a vendor can provide? What are the advantages of those kinds of services? What are the disadvantages of that? Who are the top service providers, cloud service providers for a different service? So these are all the things that we need to know. Okay. There are two types of models are provided. One is the deployment model. Another one is the service model. Deployment is where does your data resides, is deployed in the cloud. Where does your data is deployed or located in the cloud. Based on that, we have types of cloud service provided, which is called as the deployment model. Another one is service. What type of service has been given by vendor? We have the models with the perspective of the client as well as the vendor. According to client, in view of client, we have deployment model. From the perspective of the vendor, we have the service models. Okay. Now, first I'll tell you about the deployment models. As is visible in the diagram, we have 4 types of services or 4 types of clouds, where the type of access to the cloud, how do you store the data and how do you access the cloud or data stored in that, and how the cloud is located. Based on these criteria, cloud service can be divided or categorized as public cloud, private cloud, hybrid cloud and community cloud. There are 4 types: hybrid, public, community and private. What are these? How does the cloud in this category differs is, first thing is the public cloud. We have the public cloud. The public cloud, what is the characteristic of a public cloud is, it allows systems and services to be accessible by the general public. That means anyone can access the data from such cloud. There is no restriction that only these people can access the cloud. These cannot access. Anyone who has access to that cloud can get the access of the data and can store the data, which is public and is available to everyone who access it, which is called as the public cloud, okay, which is easily accessible to the general public, okay. The one thing we need to consider in public cloud is, as it is easily accessible to anyone, the main purpose or main worry about the public cloud is of security of the data. How does your data feels secured in a public cloud? The security, when compared to other types of cloud, public cloud has very less percentage of security. You cannot rely on public cloud on the characteristic of security. Certain security the vendor will provide, but he cannot assure that he'll give 100% security to your data, because it is a public cloud and anyone can access it, is it not? Contrary to that, we have a private cloud, where private cloud allows the systems and services to be accessible within a single organization. If public is accessing that, like email, if I'm storing data in Google Drive, if I have given the password, anyone can access my email, is it not? If I share something, anyone can access it, or hackers can easily access my data using my email credentials, is it not? But when it comes to private cloud, it is like a locked cloud, where publics cannot access the data. What is the purpose of having public cloud is for the benefit of organizations, because data plays an important role. As we have discussed, data is an asset to a organization, is it not? So security is the most happening thing or most important thing for an organization. They have to protect their asset or protect their data from intruders or attackers. In such a case, they'll go for private cloud, where only the authorized employees or authorized persons of a particular organization can get access to a particular cloud. Anyone cannot get access to that cloud without a proper permission by the someone who is there in organization. If somebody has not approved, the person cannot access the data. Okay, it is a closed cloud, it offers the increased security. Even may not be 100%, it provides the security up to certain percent, maximum percent security can be provided with the help of a private cloud, which is not possible with the public cloud. Okay. Apart from public and private, we have another community cloud. What is the purpose of having community cloud is allows system and services to be accessed by group of organizations. Group of organizations is if there is a branch of organizations, multiple branch of an organization, those multiple organizations can access a single cloud for a better accessibility of the data, because if there is an MNC, it may have branch in various locations of India or in various locations of the world. It cannot purchase or it cannot access or it cannot take each cloud for each organization. Or instead what they'll do, they'll take a cloud for multiple branches of or other branches of the organization, and those organizations, branches of same organization, can access the cloud. Where it becomes more than one, it is neither public nor private, because it is not public, because it is a closed cloud for a single organization or for certain group of organization. Or if some organizations or 4 to 5 organizations make a group and access the same data, in such a case also we provide the, or the vendors provide the facility of community cloud. That means anyone can within the organization can access the data residing in the cloud. Okay. Last comes is the hybrid cloud. As we know about the term hybrid, it combines the features of multiple types of cloud. So it is a mixture of public as well as private. There are certain disadvantages in public as well as private. Public security is less, whereas in private accessibility is less. Suppose if you are somewhere outside the organization, if you are an employee who is continuously on a tour, or employee who has responsibility of visiting various branches, who cannot reside all the time in the office, if he wants to access some data from outside the organization or a device outside the organization, the cloud will not allow you to access the data, because your network or your system from where, or the component from which you are accessing the data is not within the network of the organization. So a cloud may refuse you to get access to the data. That is one of the disadvantage of the private cloud. The idea of hybrid is combining the advantages of public as well as private. In this, critical activities are performed using private cloud. The data which are most important and which are most critical with respect to the organization will be stored in a private cloud, where only the employees of certain group or employees of the organization will be able to access. Whereas the non-critical activities, the data that are not much important or not much confidential, if somebody outside the organization or some employee outside the organization wants to access such a data, he can do so. For that, they have the facility of, or they'll categorize the data as non-critical entities or activities, and it will be accessed in the form of a public cloud. The characteristic of the public as well as private changes. So certain data will be protected and is accessed in the terms of private cloud, whereas certain data which are not so much critical or confidential with respect to organization, a certain amount of liberty was given to the employees of the organization to get access to the data. This is advantages when compared to the private or public cloud. Community cloud is there. It has its own advantages and disadvantages, but hybrid cloud is a better thing when compared to the public as well as the private cloud. Okay. Next is deployment model we have known. Next comes is the service models. What are the services that are provided by the vendors? Okay, these are the reference models on which cloud computing is based. Most of the services provided will be categorized based on service they are going to provide. Okay, these can be categorized into 3 types. There are 3 types of service models that are provided by a vendor. One is the infrastructure as a service. Infrastructure is given as a service, which is termed as IaaS. Next comes is the platform as a service, which is termed as PAAS. And we have software as a service, which can be termed as SaaS. IaaS, PAAS and SaaS are the 3 types of service models that are provided by service vendors or cloud service providers or cloud service vendors. Every vendor is not going to provide all the services. Each of the vendor either provides IaaS or provides PAAS or provides SaaS. So, remember the 3 types of models: IaaS, PAAS and SaaS. Next, we shall know about each of these models in detail. Okay, the first comes is the infrastructure as a service. Infrastructure will be provided as a cloud service to the clients. What are the services provided in this? It is also known as hardware as a service, HaaS. You can also pronounce it as HaaS. That means infrastructure or hardware service is provided to the clients, as the name indicates you. Infrastructure or hardware is provided. Hardware as a component to the client. Again, as we discussed in the previous session, or I told you in the previous session, virtualization is the concept implemented by a cloud service. So, it virtually provides the hardware, not actually it is providing. If you are asking for a CPU or processor, it is not by hand giving you a processor. Instead, it is giving you the virtual image of the memory and processor, so that you can work as there is some memory and processor dedicated for you only. So, that virtualization concept is implemented in this service, hardware as a service or infrastructure as a service. We will call it as IaaS or HaaS. Okay. It is one of the layer of the cloud computing platform, or the upper layer of the cloud computing platform. It is needed by anyone, is it not? Hardware, it reduces the investment in case of business or for an entrepreneur, is it not? What does the IaaS will do is, it allows customers to outsource their IT infrastructures, as I said, infrastructure or hardware such as servers. You can take server as a service, networking components or processors. The entire processor can be taken as a infrastructure, storage. You can use the memory, which you usually do, and virtual machines. Virtual machines, like we have entire system, can be virtualized, and we feel that we have access to a complete processor, complete memory and other components like printer or scanner, which must be local, but printer and scanner may not be provided as a cloud service because it must be local. Like you can have the servers for storage, virtual machines. Virtual machines can be provided and other related components. So these hardware are provided as a service through the concept of virtualization, which is called as the IaaS or HaaS, hardware as a service. Okay. How does customers access to it is on the internet using the pay as per use. That means how much you use, you can pay that much only. You need not to prepay it and use it. You can use it afterwards, pay for how much you have used, for how much time or how much memory you have used. Based on those criteria, you can pay for the service they have provided. But one thing you need is a component for accessing the cloud and an internet to access. Only two components are enough to access any hardware as a service has to make your system functional. You need not to establish all the components like CPUs, other ports, cables, memories, hard drives, hard disk drives. You don't need all those things. What you need is a simple component, any electronic component. Along with that, usually electronic component is system. Without that, you cannot access any processor, or you can, with the help of a mobile, you cannot make a processor work. So, with the help of one single system, minimum memory or minimum processing capability, you can make all the works done by accessing the cloud by taking IaaS service or infrastructure service. Okay. What are the different services that are provided by IaaS? Or first thing is computing. It allows you to make the computing with the help of virtual processor. You will not be having actual processor, but with the help of virtual processor, you can make the computing service. You can perform computations in the cloud, including virtual central processing units. You can have ALUs, control units, all those things as a virtual, not actual. As a virtual, you can have all those processing units. And virtual main memory, even main memory can be virtualized. You can have the virtualization concept on main memory also. For the virtual machines, you can have the virtual memory and virtual processor for the virtual machines, which is provisioned to the end user. If you are an end user, you can have the virtual machines, virtual processor, as well as virtual main memory for the processing of your data. It is a fine thing, is it not? Along with that, it provides the storage. As I said, it provides a memory for you, storage space for you, provides back-end storage for storing various files. Okay, it is again pay on use. How much you pay, how much you use, you can pay that much only. You need not to prepay something before using the service. Apart from that, network can be provided as a service. The network component can be provided. Networking components such as routers, you can get a router in cloud, or switches, or bridges you can have. You can establish an entire network component with the help of a cloud service. Again, for the virtual machines, they are not actual machines, they are virtual machines. For those virtual machines, you can provide memory, storage, network, and the load balancers. What are these load balancers are all about? It provides load balancing capacity at the infrastructure layer. It decides how much data must be stored in permanent memory and how much must be stored as a temporary, or how much must be stored in public cloud, how much must be stored in private cloud, how does the accessing will be, how much data access must be done a particular time, how much have been accessed, how much you have to pay. All these things, balancing of the load in the memory or any service will be provided by the load balancers. These are the 4 types of service that are provided by IaaS vendors, okay, or infrastructure as a service providers. Fine. What are the advantages that are there in a IaaS? Are one is shared infrastructure. You can share the infrastructure components, hardware components without any much investment. You need minimum number of investment or minimum amount of investment for establishing a new office or new business, which will be very much helpful for the entrepreneurs or startup company entrepreneurs or business persons who are starting a company. At that starting stage, if it reduces the investment amount, it will be a benefit for the entrepreneurs, is it not? Multiple users to share the same physical infrastructure. So you can share the infrastructure so that amount will be reduced. Even pay amount will be reduced if you share the service with the other organization or other branch of the organization. If you are establishing a new branch, instead of having a new cloud with the previous cloud only, you can share the infrastructure. So shared infrastructure is possible. Web access to the resources with the help of the network or internet. The IT users can access the resources over the internet only. May not be actually, but over the internet, it can access all the services. Another advantage is pay as per use. That means provides service based on pay as per use. That means you pay how much you use. For what they have used, they can pay for that. Okay, it will not be a burden for the business. Okay, apart from that, you can have focus on the core business. If you take IaaS as a service, provides focus on the organization's core business rather than IT infrastructure. Instead of spending all the investments only on the IT components, technology components, they can use that amount or investment amount for some other purpose to grow their business. So amount can be diverted to some other task which are meant only for investing in technology. Okay, that is another advantage. And on-demand scalability. Scalability is the main feature or advantage of the IaaS, where using IaaS, users do not worry about the upgrade software and troubleshooting issues. The provider or the vendor himself will take care of all these things, upgradation and updating the softwares, as well as troubles or problems related to the hardware components will be solved by the providers only. The clients need not to worry about all those minor or major problems. Okay, this is some of the advantages. If there are advantages, there will be few disadvantages also. What are the disadvantages? First one is security. First disadvantage is security. What is the disadvantage or what is the problem if IaaS is used is, most of the IaaS providers will not guarantee you to provide 100% security to your data, because hardware can be shared by multiple users. One of the user may access to your data. Even though security measures, maximum security measures are taken, they cannot ensure you that they'll provide you 100% of security to your data. Next thing is maintenance and upgrading. It is a bigger task. Even though they promise you that they'll provide higher security, they'll take care of all the hardware components they have provided as a service, they do not upgrade the software for certain organizations. If they are using a private cloud or a community cloud, if they are having some problems with the client, there is some problem in the behavior of the client or client and vendor approach, if there is some problem, they'll not bother about the upgrades, and they can provide, they can create a new problem for you, because they'll not upgrade the components, because approach of the client and the vendor will not be so much good. They can cause you trouble in certain operations. So that kind of upgradation and maintenance problems are there. Apart from that, interoperability issues. What are interoperability issues all about is migrating a virtual machine from one vendor or one provider to another provider is a very much problematic task in case of infrastructure. If you have provided a hardware component, you have stored all your data in the particular vendor service, and all of a sudden you want to change the vendor or the provider, it will be a very much difficult and complex task to migrate all the data, components and all those things, makes it very much difficult. This is one of the main disadvantages in IaaS as a service. Okay, what are the different top IaaS providers are Tata, Sifi, Reliance, NetMagic, Amazon, Rackspace. So these are some of the top IaaS providers or vendors who are providing IaaS as a cloud service. Okay. After IaaS, next comes is the platform as a service. Okay. Platform means provides a runtime environment. A runtime environment, what does the runtime environment includes? The runtime environment may include different system softwares, different softwares needed to develop an application, or an entire operating system can be provided, which is a platform for working. Okay. If there is a platform like operating system or any software like Java or Python or Studio, Visual Studio or Home Page Maker or any software which is used to develop an application. So such things are categorized as a platform. So that platform will be provided as a service, which is called as the PAAS. You can pronounce it as PAAS. It allows the programmers to easily create. You need not, not only create, you can test it, you can run it, and you can deploy it in web applications. Suppose you are working on web applications, you can do it entirely on PAAS service or PAAS cloud service provided by a vendor. You need not to establish any software or install any software in your computer. Instead, you can use the platform as a service from one of the cloud service vendor or cloud service provider. Okay. Along with that, paying as you use, you can purchase these applications. You can even purchase the applications from a cloud service provider on a as per use basis, or you can rent it. For one day, I can use this much. For 1 month, I need this software, because some applications will be there which are temporarily been gained by the organization. The application may get finished in 3 months. What they can do is they can purchase the platform for 3 months, so that all the data can be stored, all the changes can be done within the component or platform, so that it can have better application. If they use the service as payment on particular days, like paying or rental basis, if they purchase it, what happens is If once the rental time finishes, what happens is all the data will be migrated to the cloud, where changing the data and other tasks will not be possible with the rental basis. Instead of that, the organization can purchase the applications for certain amount of or certain time duration until the application gets finished or necessity of the applications finishes. Again, for accessing or for purchasing this product, the internet connection is needed. In PAAS, the backend scalability is managed by the service provider only. So, end users need not to worry about managing the infrastructure. If you need certain, not all the infrastructure like as IAAS as a service, some minor components if you need for an application, for the application, not for your personal system, for the use of application, you need certain backend files. Those files can be provided by the service provider itself. You need not to worry about the supporting files or packages that are to be needed with the platform or the application. Next comes is the services provided by a PAAS. Okay, as we have we can see in the diagram, the service provided provides the programming languages that you need, application frameworks. If you need a framework, that can be provided. Along with that, it can provide you the databases and other tools. Okay. In programming languages, various languages for the developers to develop the applications. Different web application languages and other popular programming languages like Java, PHP, Ruby and Perl. Mainly they provide the platform for web applications. Even standalone applications also they can provide the service, but the thing is security will be less in case of softwares which are meant for standalone applications. For web applications, general applications, you can get the programming languages from the cloud itself. Next is application frameworks. It can provide frameworks like to easily understand the application development. How does the framework will work or how does the application will develop. Okay. So, some of the supporting frameworks that are provided are JS, Drupal, Joomla. So, these kinds of WordPress, Spring and other applications or platforms have been provided by the providers or the vendors. Apart from that, databases can be provided. In databases, they can provide you like ClearDB, PostgreSQL, MongoDB and Redis. That can be provided by the provider to store your data in the database, because you need the data for further things. You need to purchase these applications. Like in infrastructure, you need not to purchase, but in PAAS, there may be a need to purchase these applications and programs. Apart from these three, it can provide other tools that are required to develop, test and deploy the applications. As I told you already, supporting files that are needed to develop an application in a particular platform. If you have taken web application, PHP, what are the backends it needs, like backend supporting files for PHP or some other Java or JDBC supporting files. All these things can be provided as a service by the cloud provider. Okay. What are the advantages of using a PAAS over local applications is simplified development, because allows the developer to focus on development and innovation without worrying about infrastructure management. It should not The employees or the organization will not worry about installation, upgradation and other things in the PAAS as a service, because cloud provider will provide all those things for the client. Apart from that, it is having lower risk. How does it is having lower risk is, no need for upfront investment in hardware and software. You can get the hardware from the IAAS as a service, whereas softwares can be taken from PAAS vendors. Developers only need a PC, a basic PC, along with an internet. High-speed internet is enough to implement any application, to start building the applications. If you are an entrepreneur who is starting a startup company, you will not be able to concentrate more on the investment on only technologies. You can avoid those investments by taking the cloud service, hardware from IaaS and applications or softwares from the PAAS providers. Apart from that, pre-built business functionality. Some functionalities, business functionality will be provided by the PAAS so that user can avoid building everything from the scratch. Some basic things or basic models will be provided by the vendors themselves so that it will help you to build basic things in your organization. All these services are mainly important for the business or the entrepreneurs who are planning to start a new business. You need not to start from everything from scratch, or you need not to invest too much on information technology components. Instead of that, you can concentrate on other things which are having main role in developing a business. Apart from that, it can have instant community. Online communities will be provided by the providers so that developer can have the ideas or experience sharing and advice from others. Suppose some part of a project or an application or module is causing some troubles or having some problem. Troubleshooting can be done by sharing it on the community space that are provided by the service providers, where other users or clients can help you to solve these certain problems. So this sharing of the experience as well as the troubles and other things is possible in the PAAS, because providers will provide you some online communities to help in this task. Apart from that, it can have scalability. The applications that you have purchased or used can scale from 1 to 1,000 users. If you want to add on the users, if you have purchased the application to be used only by some 10 users, and after 1 year or certain time duration after that, if the number of employees increases and you want the application to be available to all the users in your organization, that service can also be provided by the PAAS. Okay, so you need not to worry about purchasing again another version of software and other things is not necessary, because the provider himself will provide the applications to any number of users without any changes. Same speed and service will be provided to any number of users. Okay. Then what are the disadvantages that you can face in PAAS is vendor lock-in. That means you cannot migrate from one vendor to another vendor, because one has to write the applications according to the platform provided by the vendor. If vendor himself has developed an application and you are doing the project in that application may not be available in other vendors. If you want to migrate your virtual machine from one vendor to another vendor, it is not possible if you have different softwares or platforms that are used. Even with the operating system, if you are using certain operating system with a vendor, you cannot change suddenly all the data and applications to be migrated to another operating system. That is, migration of an application to another vendor would be a very much problem. It may cause you a major problem. Apart from that, another disadvantage is having the privacy on the data. Corporate data, whether it is critical or not, it is not located within the walls of the company. If it is not located in the local server or local memory location, there can be a risk of somebody else getting access to your private or confidential data. In any service, any cloud service, security is the main concern because it is a cloud and is residing in somewhere else. That means if I am able to access the data, anybody can access to that data. So, security is the main concern in the cloud service. Apart from that, integration with the rest of the system's applications. Certain applications will not integrate with other systems, or some may be local and some may be in cloud. In applications, some supporting files may be provided in local, whereas some data or applications may have been taken by the cloud. In such cases, complexity will be increased when you want to integrate the data in the local to the cloud. In such a case, integration problem will arise because the formats and type of data that you have stored in local may be different from that you have stored and in the form of data that have stored in a cloud. So, all these complexity, all these points may increase the complexity of integration when you are using cloud as well as local storage or local accessing of the data. Okay. So, these are the top PAAS service providers like Cloud Foundry, OpenShift, App, Fog, Windows Azure, Salesforce and Google. So, these are the some of the providers who provide PAAS service or PAAS cloud service. What are the different services they are providing is like app identity, URL fetch by Google, Salesforce is providing faster implementation, rapid scalability and other things. Windows Azure is providing computing task service, security, IoT and data storage, whereas AppFog is providing SkyDrive and Google Docs. OpenShift may be providing Red Hat. It is providing the operating system itself. Microsoft Azure. Cloud Foundry may be providing messaging service and data related other services. These are the some of the vendors and the services that they are going to provide. Okay. Next comes is the software as a service. Okay, it is called as the SaaS. SaaS is also known as on-demand software. On-demand software. What is the difference between platform as a service and software as a service? Main difference you need to remember is platform as a service provides you the applications and softwares needed to develop an application or a project or to do a project by a developer. Whereas software as a service provides you the application softwares. They are concentrating on system softwares and other applications that are needed to develop a project or any other kind of applications, whereas software as a service purely provides you the end user softwares or application softwares like Tally or some Microsoft Office, which are application softwares. So these kind of softwares are provided by software as a platform, software as a service. Don't get confused that platform also provides the software. Software as a service also, PAAS also provides a software. SaaS also provides a software. PAAS provides the system software, whereas SaaS provides the application softwares. Some of the general application softwares will be provided as a service, which is termed as SaaS. Okay. Now, let us come back to the SaaS. It is a software distribution model. As I said, name itself says it, everything. It provides the software distribution model which are hosted by a cloud service provider. An application software will be provided by the provider. These services are available to the end users, not to the developers. These are available to the end users over the internet. So the end users do not need to install any software. Suppose you want to develop a photo or you want to edit a photo, you can take Adobe Photoshop as a service by the cloud, which is called as the software as a service. Or you want to develop a document, or you want to prepare a documentation or prepare a presentation. You need not to install Microsoft Office. You need not to install Microsoft PowerPoint or any presentation software. You can get that presentation software directly from the cloud and can be used to prepare your presentation. So this is an example for SaaS. Install any software on their device to access these services. They need not to use any component installation. What they need is an electronic device or an electronic component and a high-speed internet connection. You can do all your tasks in the application software. What are the services provided by SaaS is, one thing is business services. What are the different services that can provide is business services to start up the business, like enterprise resource planning for planning purpose, application softwares, customer relationship management. These are the some kind of software which will give you a view of how does the business must start, what are the points to be remembered when you are running a business and all those things. Billing softwares to prepare a bill and sales related softwares like Tally or something. That kind of service softwares can be provided as a service by the cloud providers. Apart from that, document management. They can help you in managing a document which is provided by a third party. Like SaaS gets hold on the third party who is providing a document management software. If somebody is having a document management software, the service provider can get the party or can get the software from that third party and can provide you as a service. Okay, to create or manage and track the electronic documents. Any electronic document can be stored and can be created and accessed and updated or deleted. You can do all sorts of operations on a third party software which is provided by the SaaS vendor. Okay, like example, you can take Slack or Same Page, Zoho, Box. These are some of the application software for certain, which are meant for certain users or certain applications. Apart from that, you can have social networks. So as we all know, social networking sites are used by general public. Anyone can use the social network site. So social networking service providers, what they'll do, use SaaS for their convenience to store the data or to manage the data or to beautify your social media web page. So all these management can be done by taking the software as a service without installing anything. They can take the software as a service and can provide you better service. They are taking the service from somebody and providing the service for you, okay, to handle the general public information. That is why it is said that security is very much less in social networking, okay. Apart from that, it can provide mail services to handle the unpredictable number of users. If you are a developer of a social network, you can have unpredictable number of users. Who knows that when Facebook was started, there will be crores of users that they'll be using this site. The mail service can handle any number of users and load on email services. Suppose if you take a Gmail or some other mail ID, there will be crores of users who are using those ID or email service. For handling those data that are stored, we can provider or the client or the third party who are providing a software can use the cloud as a service to store all your data and manage all your data. Okay, many email providers are offering their service using SaaS. Suppose if you if you have a Gmail account and you are storing all your data in the particular Google Drive of your account, where does those data will be stored? Does all the data goes to the Google server? Definitely not. If that happens, it cannot handle the load of the data that will be stored every minute. Every minute, a lot and lots of terabytes of data will be stored in the Google Drive. If they are giving or providing the Google server itself to store your data, their server may crash down for not able to handle or bear the load of the data loaded. Instead of what does the Google will do is, it will take the memory or it will take the service from the software, SaaS from the vendor, and provides you service for emails or other services they are providing. Okay. What are the advantages of SaaS? It is easy to buy. You can easily buy the SaaS because it is based on monthly fee or annual fee subscription. So it allows organization to access business functionality at very much low cost. Okay. Unlike traditional software, which is licensed, SaaS providers pricing their applications using a subscription fee. There will not be fee for the upfront cost like the traditional software. They provide you the software based on subscription. For how much duration you subscribe a software, based on that you can pay. Another advantage is one-to-many. It can provide one-to-many model, means it can have a single instance of application distributed to multiple users. Less hardware required for SaaS if you have taken software as a service. Since the software is hosted remotely, organization need not to worry about investment on hardware components. Apart from that, low maintenance. Maintenance will be very much less when you take software as a service It removes the necessity of installation, setup, maintenance, updating. All these tasks will be saved or provided by the vendors themselves. No special software or hardware versions required which are supporting. If all users will have the same version of the software, how many users may access the software as a service? All will get the same version of the software and will be usually accessed through the browser. So, all the clients, irrespective of what kind of, how much the client is accessing the data or whatever he is doing, he will get same version of the software, so that it reduces the IT support cost for outsourcing the hardware as well as the software. Okay. Apart from that, you have the advantage of multi-device support. If you take software as a service, it can be accessed by any available electronic device like desktop, laptop, telephones, tablets. From any component you can access the service. You can have integration of the different services of APIs. No client-side installation. That means you don't need any installation of software in your PC. That means basic memory will be saved from installing the software, because some software takes most of the memory from your system or gets most of the memory from your system. If you take software as a service, SaaS service will reduce the use of memory in your PC or the electronic component. Okay. So next, what are the disadvantages? One is surely security, because data is stored in the cloud. Security will be the main issue, because software can be accessed by anybody, is it not? It is not an in-house development, but it is done on cloud, so there will be a risk of accessing the data by someone else. Latency issue. What is this latency issue is all about? Since data and applications are stored in the cloud, everything is stored in the cloud at a variable distance from the end user. It is not available in local. It is stored somewhere else in the cloud. There is a possibility that there may be delay in accessing the data. If you don't have a high-speed internet, or there is some problem in internet connection, or as the distance is very much high, the time needed to load an application, to make it work and to store back the data to the cloud may take much time when compared to the same operation done on the local application or local server. Apart from that, it totally depends on the internet. If you lose the internet connection, all your work will be lost. Switching between the vendors is very much difficult, because it will be slow and difficult to transfer the data or other things which are used in one software from one vendor to another vendor. Again, importing them over the internet, everything must be done over the internet only. You have to completely depend on the internet. That means you need to have uninterrupted high-speed internet all the time. You should not find any backdrop in internet connection. Okay. So these are the some of the disadvantages in SaaS. We have the diagram of top SaaS providers which can provide you different service. What are the services provided by different providers have been listed out here. Okay. So this is all about the cloud service models. How do you get a service from the cloud? Three types, mainly three types is IaaS, PAAS and the SAAS. In the coming session, the discussion is all about the cloud and the dynamic infrastructure that are needed to provide the service to a client. Thank you.